Hello, everyone. This is Naishad Gadani from Your Career Down Under, and welcome to our LinkedIn Live event, which we fondly call Your Career Care Package. Now, for those who are joining us for the first time, you will see Naishad and Caroline. We started this LinkedIn Live in response to our effort to help job seekers and professionals through these trying and uncertain times that we find ourselves in. We believe that as a career practitioners, I think there is a lot that we can do of which would be of service to the larger community. So in a way, we are documenting how people responded to COVID crisis, even for future reference to it. So we feel that the work that we are doing and the experts who've been coming and sharing their ideas and insights with us are doing an absolute great service where we can look back through these recordings after a few years and learn a bit more about how did we respond to this crisis. I'm in India right now. Been locked down here, and it looks like that we'll be locked down for another 2 weeks as well. And then we'll be quarantined when I get back to Melbourne, which is a different story altogether. But so I welcome my partner in crime, Caroline Brown. She's still in Painesville. It looks like a very good sunny day out there.
Yes, it's a little weather report. It is nice and sunny. So on the last day of Easter, so really enjoying that. Yeah.
Excellent. Yes, that's right. This is then I don't think so that people, at least in India, we don't see the difference between a Monday and a Sunday because we are all at home. When my son said that I'm not going to study, he said I'm not going to study today. He said that yesterday. I said why? He said Sunday. Oh, I said okay, all right. But it is an absolute privilege to bring the guest here, Dominic So. I know Dominic for probably for a long time, and we have exchanged interactions, and I've seen Dominic, sort of growing from strength to strength, and we are absolutely thrilled to talk about a topic which a lot of people talk about it, but probably not fully understood. So we decided to bring Dominic to really unpack the idea of resilience, and specifically in the context of jobs and career. So Dominic, welcome to Career Care Package LinkedIn Live events. Can you start with telling a bit of story about yourself? Where did you start? Because you were an international student, and how
Yes,
did
yes.
you get where you are right now?
So once again, thanks so much, Naisha and Caroline, for having me on this show. Definitely a privilege and pleasure to be with you guys. So I'm Dominic. I was born in Singapore. When I was in Singapore, I did my degree in mechanical engineering. So I did my internship in Motorola before we had smartphones, and that was really fun. So when I finished my studies, I decided to come over to Melbourne to pursue my postgrad studies in engineering management and business. So that was came to Melbourne in 2011. So by the time I graduated in 2015, I got a job as in sales and business development. But because I was really fresh out of uni, I didn't know how to sell the company's product, so wasn't able to perform. I was fired from my job, and I've also it was a tricky situation, and I've decided to revisit my dream of piloting as well, but that didn't work out as well. So when I was back in square one to find a job, I actually had to send out 126 resumes over the course of 1.5 years to eventually land a full-time role as a business and management trainer. So I'm sure you guys will have questions about the details, but basically this is my story of maneuvering in this whole job search situation to today speaking internationally, working the RMIT Careers team, speak at stage, and also being on this show with you guys. So definitely it's been a crazy journey.
Well, let me tell you, being on this show is the pinnacle of out of everything that you have
It
done
doesn't
so
get
far.
any better.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, that's not a big problem. No, you'll have a great life. You know, so,
So Dominic, if we can, sort of, start to talk about resilience, so I want you
Yes.
to really, unpack that idea, and also then talk to us about, because it looks like that you came as an international student. Now 2011 was probably not a great time because the global financial crisis was still there, so I think there were less jobs, and for international graduates, because of the visa conditions, it's not an opportune environment. But then still you kind of persisted through that. So I want you to really unpack the idea of resilience, and how did you develop resilience within yourself to find and end up doing what you want to do.
Perfect. So I think the baseline of resilience itself, most people think of resilience as, for example, like fundamental mental toughness, so persistence and perseverance. So that is really important. But I guess a new way of looking at resilience is how to actually thrive in an adverse situation, because you don't just want to go through a crisis and just scrape by, because we will eventually get out of this pandemic. We'll get through this recession, but how you turn out on the other side is totally up to you as to what you do right now. So I guess when I graduated in 2013, the jobs market for engineers wasn't the best, because in Victoria and in Melbourne right now, if you're an engineer, it's a perfect opportunity. There's so many construction works, building projects, developments, the Westgate Tunnel, the different level crossing removals and all that, the tunneling projects, the Metro City Loop or something. So there's a lot of things going on right now, which is amazing for engineers. But back then, it was so hard to get an engineering job. It's like squeezing milk out of a lion. It's that hard. And back then, employers weren't that open to international students. So if you didn't have your Australian citizenship or your PR, it was really difficult. So I guess my takeaway from that was explore your options, control the controllables. What I did differently was because I knew that getting an engineering job was really tough, I decided to pivot. So if I can't land an engineering job, I was thinking of what else can I go into. So because I was really passionate about speaking to people, empowering them, that was how I got the business and management trainer role, and that was how it led me to this careers position in RMIT, and also speaking to people all around. So the first takeaway is always make a decision that whatever you're going through, make that choice, make that commitment that you will press on. You'll not only survive, but you'll find ways to thrive in that adverse situation.
One of the things if you don't mind if I jump in, Nesh, but one of the things is watching your TED Talk, which is absolutely fantastic. So if anybody hasn't watched it, do check it out. But one of the things I found really interesting was you said you started a career magazine without much sort of background in that particular area.
That's right.
Did that help you make the pivot? What was the idea behind doing that?
Oh, okay. Yes. So the whole idea about the Careers magazine was because when I was still in the midst of the job search itself, when I was thick in the midst of getting rejected by employers and all that, I thought, why not do something different to actually help yourself stand out? And so I started a magazine with a friend. And because we also knew that other people were in the similar situation, struggling to find work and trying to navigate this whole employment space. So we created a print and an online version of the magazine. So within 6 months, we actually managed to put it forward to about 3,000 to 4,000 students in 6 Victorian universities. And it also gave me the opportunities to conduct careers workshops in Melbourne Uni as well as RMIT. So I guess it's always, because what I found, which was really useful, is if you can't find experience, find ways to create experience for yourself, whether it's a startup, through a project, through volunteering. That is if you can't find work through the formal areas like an internship or a part-time job. So try to find ways which are a bit unconventional and out of the box. So as a result of that magazine, that was actually how I managed to differentiate myself. Because I had a magazine, I literally went to the job interview with the magazine as proof that I'm really passionate about investing in people. This was what I managed to do, and this is why I want to work for XYZ employer.
So did the magazine, was that a way of sort of you becoming the expert in careers or finding a job and connecting people, and is that what that sort of demonstrated, do you think?
I think at a point of time, we were still, the irony was that we were actually jobless when we created the Careers magazine. So what we did was we just interviewed experts. So we just reached out to people on LinkedIn, get little quotes here and there. We actually scanned the internet and got the best articles, put stuff together. And then, so it's basically just pulling things together and sharing what we found out so far, not really seeing ourselves as the expert, but just helping one another out. And amazingly, people were on board, people were supportive, and people were actually inspired by this whole thing. People got served by it as well. So it's coming from a position of service as well.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story, and it's really, I mean, it's such a great tip. I know you've got a lot of other things to share, but just on that, it really is a great tip for people to follow. And Nashad, you've been talking about it for we've been talking about what are you curious about? What are you personally struggling with? How can you dig deep into that and learn? And you don't need experience. You just need to be curious and basically to have a go as well. So yeah, fantastic work. So
and I think one thing, if I may, just to add on that, is I think when you're going through a crisis or an adverse situation, this is also stacking on top of the resilience piece, is that if you start to look beyond your own challenges, sometimes it really helps your situation. It will make the journey a bit easier because it helps you to put things into perspective. You will realize that you're not the only one, and that when you actually reach out a hand to help someone else, everyone wins.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think that part of the resilience, is also, a lot of people say it's the ability to bounce back. Whether you are able to, how quickly do you respond to those things? Now, obviously, the bouncing back is a lifelong journey. Sometimes you bounce back in 5 seconds, and sometimes it takes 5 months to 5 years for people to bounce back. But I think the whole purpose of this talk and bringing you is to let people know that it is your own journey through into that. You can't really compare that someone bounced back after X amount of time, and I need to be able to bounce back. I think the whole idea is to be able to learn, apply the learning, and trying it out. I think one of the things that I can get from what you said is that, even though both you and your friend were looking for work, unemployed, but you were also thinking about how I could be of service to people. And I think that is, in my view, one of the way that can pull you out. One of the way that it say, you know what, there's something that I can do. I can, I've shared this with people that even, as of now, even I'm also asked to go on an unpaid leave, in my full-time work there. So it means that I may not even return to my work, in a full-time capacity once I'm there. Now, is it hurting? Absolutely, it is hurting. Is it a great place? No, it's not a great place to be in. But what I feel is that by doing this, I get that different perspective from people, and that is also, in my view, one of the way that people can build that resilience, isn't it?
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and you mentioned also in your TED Talk about surrounding yourself with the right people. Can you talk through what you meant by that? Because I think, that's what you're kind of alluding to as well, Naish, is, who's around you when you do all of this. Like the LinkedIn Lives serve a purpose for us as well, because we get to speak to great people like you. But yeah, how did that help you get through that time?
Or, that helped me a lot.
Well, so.
Yeah. So the best analogy is if you are sick, you go to a hospital, you see the doctor, you spend more time with the healthcare professionals than other patients. Because if you just hang around other patients, guess what happens? You spread the disease, you stay sick, and everyone gets into this pity party, So on one hand, I understand that it's good to find people who can literally sympathize and empathize with you, who are on the same boat. That's good, and at least you guys know that everyone's on this journey together. But on the other hand, the danger if you just hang out with that group of people, you are not actually opening up your eyes to bigger perspectives out there. So you need to spend time to invest with people who are operating on a higher level than you, people who are doing better, people who are striving and succeeding in what they do, and also people who are in a position where you want to be, so that at least they can share with you the insights as to how you can get there. So it helps you get into a very good headspace, because if you just hang around with other people who are jobless and unemployed, you need to be very careful about the talk, the conversations and the narratives. It's usually like, oh, I'm just sitting behind the computer on Seek again, being rejected again. You get into this downward spiral, which is very dangerous. So meet with people who are inspiring, hang out with people who can lift you up to the next level. Very, very important.
Yeah, fantastic. You're going to say something, Nash?
I think in that context, the another thing that people have to be very clear of is there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. I think if you can elaborate a little bit more on that, because it looks like the same thing, right? It looks like that you are I'm sympathizing with you that you are unemployed, right? Then empathy is different to that, in action. Can you give us some differentiation between how one should look at, because there are many people out there who might be watching right now, who might listen to the podcast, is that they are also out there to help. I think these times everyone is trying to do something for someone. If we can tell people that how they can approach in the context of unemployment, about if they see somebody unemployed, then whether they can sympathize and say how poor bad thing happened, and then versus empathy, which is probably a little bit more empowering way to look at that. Can you differentiate between them for us?
I guess without going too technical, I think the best way to give an example, which I actually did just not too long ago, is so this gentleman commented on one of my posts on LinkedIn, saying that so he's of a mature age, and he feels that when he's in the job search journey, he feels that there are forces of ageism against him. It's really challenging for him. So I just told him, I'm sorry to hear about your situation. I think it might be tough for you, but I told him specifically that I'm not feeling sorry. I'm sorry about your situation, but I will never be sorry for you. Why? Because I do not actually want to give him permission to go into self-pity. Because it's a fine line between extending a helping hand and empathizing, but we also don't want to go all the way into we don't want to go down the rabbit hole as well, saying that, oh, you poor thing, there's nothing much we can do about it, so let's just hang around, sit around and sing kumbaya and hope for things to happen. So it is a fine line. So I think it's being aware of this as well.
Yeah, it's very easy to get dragged down or to kind of enable people with the pity, because you are saying it is hopeless, and from your own experience and the experience of other people that it's not. And also, I mean, I think there's studies out there that show that if you approach a task with I can do that versus I can't do that, can be the critical difference between you actually being able to do it. So. And I notice that in myself in small things, it's, oh God, I've got to do this versus, I'm going to give this a go, see how we go. So
Exactly. Yeah. So coming in with the right attitude, with the right mindset, and the right mentality, it makes a lot of difference.
yeah.
Mm.
I want to ask you about something else that you did mention in your TED Talk, because I love this, and I try and do it myself from time to time, is that visualization. So visualizing yourself. I think you had a great saying that you were going to be the lion, not the gazelle or something. I don't know. Anyway, sorry to just chuck little references there, but the visualization of you being the person that is the driver, the person that can be making the decision. How do you use any particular kind of practical visualization tools at all, or is that just sort of an idea that you keep in your head?
So there are two practical things you can do. The first is actually writing down your goals every day. So not just your to-do list and your tasks for the day, but also your short, medium, and long-term goals. So for example, and write them in first person active tense. So for example, I'm working in PwC as an established management consultant, very specific, as if you're already there. Write that down every day, because you are actually declaring that upon yourself, rather than saying that, oh, I'm still a job seeker, just looking around. So the clearer the picture, the better. So that's the first one, write your goals down. The next one is, some people do have a vision board. So whether it's something pictorial, whether it's something in the written word, put it on your desk, put it in front of you, put it on your bathroom mirror, put it on your wardrobe mirror, so that wherever you go, you're literally seeing it. Because there is a subconscious or even an unconscious effect on this, because whenever you scan your surroundings, you're picking bits and pieces of information from your environment. So you want to lace it with as much hope and possibility as possible, so that you're constantly stimulated.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. And I think I was reading an article. It was a guy that was a podcast with Tim Ferriss, and he had the cartoonist Dilbert on, who talked about how he wrote down 15 times a day, and I'm not sure how long, for that he would become a successful cartoonist. And what he said was that your brain starts to become attuned to those little opportunities that help you get there. I didn't know so much about the actual visual, where you're with those reminders as well. So.
And then there's something I want to bring out. There's this part of your brain called the reticular activating system. So it pretty much helps you to filter out the information from your surroundings. So if you're in a shopping center, if you are hungry, your mind will guide you to only look out for food, because that is pertinent, that is relevant, that's literally urgent. So with regards to visualization, it's how you prime and position your mind. Because if you think that life is full of problems and obstacles, guess what you'll find? You'll find problems and obstacles. It's a self-reinforcing belief. But if you choose to believe that life is full of opportunities and possibilities, success waiting for you to seize them, then that is what you'll find. So it's pretty much using your imagination as well, because it's easy for us to visualize the worst case scenario, right? We can all freak out, come out with our own stories in our head. So if we can already use that for the worst case scenario, why not use it for our desired scenarios? So like you visualize yourself going into an interview, being very confident, being very articulate, and actually crushing the whole process. Why not?
Yeah, actually enjoying the experience of what you're going to do. With your sort of turnaround, was there one thing that, like one sort of fork in the road or moment that you decided to make a switch from, sending out all those resumes to, like, was there one sort of pivotal moment for you that flicked the switch in terms of taking a new direction?
Yes, exactly. So there was this time where I think I must have been sending out my 300 to 400 resume, being stuck in that whole process. And my parents came over from Singapore to Melbourne for a holiday. And I remembered we were sitting in this Asian restaurant for dinner, and I was downright discouraged, disappointed, desperate even. So I just told my mom, just give me any job. I'll just take any job, anything that can pay the bills. I was so hungry for anything, so desperate. And then she just told me, don't think about yourself. Think about your future career. Think about your future family. Think bigger. Don't just think about getting a job just to pay the bills. Think about building something worthwhile and something meaningful. So because if you know my mom, most of the time she tells me to relax and to chill out, to enjoy life, to stop and smell the roses. But when she tells me to literally get my crap together,
things are serious.
yeah. So I made it my commitment and my decision that I'll never want to disappoint her again. So I just pushed myself all the way, took full ownership of my situation, held myself accountable, held myself responsible to things, and just giving my 150% in all that I did.
Yeah, I think we might have lost Nishad into the. Oh no! Yep, we have. Well, he's back. Sorry, technical difficulties. So he's there somewhere. So what about like in terms of doing your TED Talks and things like that? How do you get your speaking engagements? Do you pursue them, or do people see what you're putting out on social media? Where does all that come about?
It's a combination of both. So both reaching out to employers, companies, and organizations to see how I can help them, and also them reaching out to me based on what I've done, based on referrals, based on word of mouth and all that. So I guess it's all about seeing how we can help each other during this time as well. And for example, like if a company, a few of my previous speaking engagements, they were going through a change process, could be a restructuring or a transitional phase, change of management, change of leadership. So they just needed someone to come in to help their staff on the ground with some techniques and handles as to how to navigate this whole space of uncertainty. So that was how some of them got in touch with me as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Naish, you with us?
Are you back, Nisha?
No.
Welcome back.
Did you want to jump in? Because I've been putting John spotlight.
Yeah, no. I've been listening, so don't worry about it. Only the video got cut off for some reason. Now, also the another element of resilience building, is that you have also kind of, I don't know how that contributes, but you've been very physically active too. You ran ultra marathon. I think I've ran marathon in last 10 years just by walking. I've never ran. So that's my contribution to resilience. But so tell us, how did because running those incredibly tough sports. You got to push every day. You got to be able to push yourself physically every day. How did that help? And and whether that is, you consider that as one of the biggest contributor to how you see things and how things are unfolding for you.
So very good points. So I think I only started the crazy physical adventures maybe past once I've overcame the 500 plus resumes and all that, because that was the resume episode helped me to build up foundational resilience. So I thought that because we live in a world of change and disruption, I thought, why not find out different ways to actually push yourself and build up this resilience muscle even more. So when I went into this whole endurance training or endurance running space, it's actually it's only physical for a bit, and then after that it's all mental. Because my biggest races, the 100 km plus ultra marathons, one of them I did it in 30 hours without any sleep. So it really tests every single fiber of your body, especially when you don't feel like it. So in my workshops, I share with participants for them to guess from 0 km to 100 km, at which point did I feel like giving up, or did I feel tired and I wanted to go home? The answer is -2 km. when I was in the car park, parking my car before going for the race. I already wanted to go home and lie in my warm bed and just spend my weekend there. But I knew that there was a bigger race ahead. I wanted to put myself out there. So I just did it, whether I felt like it or not. And the whole lead up to this massive race, you literally have to run a marathon to train for an ultra marathon. So I did like a few 42 km marathons, a 50 km marathon as well to prepare for this 100 km one. So it definitely trained me and for a lot of things, because there is so many things that could go wrong. You need to plan, you need to manage your energy, you need to push yourself as well. And I think the biggest learning from this is staying on the course and being committed to something, because this current day and age, especially in this the modern Western world, it's easy to give into instant gratification. It is easy to say that you want results, you want it now. It's easy to set New Year's resolutions, but whether you actually fulfill it, it's a different journey. So a lot of people don't understand that success is actually a long game. To attain overnight success, you might need 15 years, you might need more. It doesn't appear just like that, but it's the summation and the accumulation of small, consistent efforts compounded over time. That is how you become successful.
So did you find from doing those ultra marathons that then gave you a bigger burst to do different things from what you've learned about yourself? Or yeah.
Exactly. So especially doing things which you don't like to do, doing things which you're scared to do, doing things which are hard. Because one part of the training, I forced myself to wake up at 3 a.m. Just to drive to the 1,000 steps to start my race at about 4:30 or 5 a.m. and it was pitch black. Every single my body didn't want to do it. So it's once you actually are able to discipline your mind, moving forward, you can apply it in other settings as well. So for example, right now, the easy thing for people to do while being at home, while being stuck at home, is to just sit in front of the couch and watch Netflix. Every one of us is guilty of that. But the harder thing to do is actually disciplining yourself to invest in your skills, in your expertise, in your knowledge, to actually learn something, so that when you get out of this pandemic, you are actually smarter, you're actually more skillful. So it's building up that discipline muscle, which a lot of us do struggle in it, because we're all human.
I was just going to say, with doing things like training for an ultra marathon, is the before worse than the do? So, you go, I don't want to get out of bed, I've got to do the 1,000 steps, but when you're actually up, is it better? Like it's more sort of fear of how horrible it could be versus actually the action of doing it, or am I missing the point?
That's a very good point, because a lot of times where we face a seemingly daunting task, we tend to back down. It's easy to give ourselves excuses, to let that little voice in your head say that, oh no, maybe try it tomorrow. Maybe you're not up to it. Maybe it's out of your league. Those negative and small talk in your head. So it's once you're able to see that big task, you actually segment it. You break it down into smaller bits and pieces, and then you just make the first move. All right. So if you are afraid of networking, just sign up for an event. All right. And then you got your first achievement, and then you can the next one and your next one, and so on and so forth, and then it snowballs from there. So I think it's all about segmenting and breaking down a seemingly impossible task into smaller bits, and then you build up momentum from there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Well, that inspires me, but unfortunately, I'm in lockdown, so I'm not going to, try and do.
You mentioned no excuses. There's always the couch.
I can show this LinkedIn Live to all the cops that find me and say, see this LinkedIn Live. Dominic asked me to do. He inspired me, so I'm not at all at fault. If you want to charge, you can charge Dominic. But if I, KB, have you got any question? I've got one thing that I just wanted to run.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, how do you keep your dreams going now? Is it you always setting yourself new goals, new things to achieve? How do you keep the momentum going?
So you got to keep setting bigger goals. So the biggest danger is people becoming complacency, people taking it easy. So obviously, take care of yourself. Rest if you have to. Take a break if you have to. Enjoy life if you have to, because you must. But on the flip side, you also need to push yourself, because the moment you think you know it all, the moment you rest on your laurels, you rest in peace, because there are forces out there which can disrupt you. It's not just the pandemic that's affecting people. We still haven't seen machine learning and AI take away big chunks of jobs yet. So that is something which we must be aware. So always stay ahead of the curve. And how you can do that is, the moment you achieve your goals, you must set bigger ones, because that is how you stay hungry. That is how you stay sharp, and that is how you stay active as well. Because the moment you stop aiming for things, you start stagnating, and that is when you literally start to die. You don't have to stop breathing, or you don't have to end up in the grave to die. When you stop dreaming, when you stop growing, that is the sign of death.
Absolutely. And do you still send out CVs?
If I want to apply for jobs here and there, but I send out a different kind of CVs. So, for example, if I want to do, if I want to contribute to an article in a magazine, in a way, it's still a CV, because you're still pitching something. So there are a lot of overlaps. Yeah. So we're always selling ourselves. We're always putting ourselves out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
Excellent. So that was the question that I wanted to ask, KB. I think you covered that question. But to wrap this up, Dominic, I'm pretty sure that you've inspired many people to to continue their their journey, and the pursuit of career happiness, or the pursuit of their dream is probably more important than ever. And I think these adverse circumstances, we start to dig deeper into our experiences, into our skills, into our what do we want to do. Now, I avoid using the word passion because it has been used so many times that then after a while, it just loses that kind of the weight of the word, loses that. So I sometimes avoid using that. But I think the whatever that you want to call that as a success, you want to call that your passion, you want to call contribution, whatever. But I think it is an opportune time for everybody to take pause, reflect, because you can't control things which are outside. I can't control. I want to go back to Australia, but I can't, right? I'm in a situation where I can't. So, and I have to, rather than me resisting that idea, what can I do to continue to create that momentum? So I think those are some of the takeaways for me. And Dominic, any last words of wisdom from you before we wrap this up?
Yes, there is something which I want to share, and I must share. So I do this at the end of my workshops. So the greatest pain in life is not the pain of failure. It is not the pain of rejection. It is not the pain of disappointment. It is not the pain of discipline. It's not even the pain of success. It's not even the pain of failure. Yeah. It is actually the pain of regret. So we'll all grow old, and one day down the road, when you're lying on your deathbed, all right, where you actually can't pursue your dreams anymore, that is when it is too late to say that if only I had, should have, could have, would have. By then it is too late. So what we have right now, it might seem like a crazy situation, but within it are opportunities. So while we are still healthy, while we can do certain things within our control, seize the opportunities, put yourself out there, because this too shall pass. The pandemic will be over, the recession will be over. But if you go to your grave with unfulfilled potential and unfulfilled dreams, that is a waste, and that is the most painful. Yeah.
Fantastic. Absolute words of wisdom, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah. I just wanted, before we wrap up, remind people that if they want to get a daily update of what we're doing, instead of sort of lurching through LinkedIn to find out what's going on, I'll put the link to subscribe to our newsletter, where we send it out every day with what we're doing, at the bottom in these comments. So, and also check out Dominic's LinkedIn page. He's got some great links and great articles there. And I'm sure, reach out for advice. If I can put you up for that, or any tips, that would be fantastic as well.
And Dominic's appointment starts at 5 a.m. at 1,000 steps in Melbourne, just for people.
Yeah, you can come find me. Once the lockdown is over.
That's part of your motivation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dominic. You've been absolutely sensational. It is an absolute joy to have you on our LinkedIn, and you must have inspired many, many people out there. So, for the listeners, if if you want to hear this, I'll be putting this on my podcast today itself. So, go to any of your podcast platforms, Teachers, Spotify, iTunes, Anchor, and just search for Your Career Down Under, and you will see this podcast along with the other podcasts that we have done. So we will see you again tomorrow, 3 p.m. Melbourne time and 10:30 a.m. Indian time, with another guest, and we'll be talking about something else tomorrow as well. So until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay at home. Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Dominic.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.